The automatic doors at Terminal B slid open at exactly 8:12 a.m. as I adjusted the blue luggage tag hanging from my tote bag for what must have been the 10th time. My name is Hannah Brooks, I'm 37, and I work as a senior pediatric occupational therapist. That morning, I believed I was arriving at the airport simply to hug my sister's family goodbye before their week-long Caribbean vacation. My fiancé, Daniel, had spent 3 evenings helping me assemble travel activity kits for my 6-year-old twin niece and nephew because he knew long flights were difficult for them. 5 minutes later, everything he'd quietly done out of kindness became evidence of something I still couldn't explain. 3 months afterward, that same blue luggage tag lay on a courtroom table beside a judge's notebook. Here's what my sister didn't understand about that morning or about the years that quietly built toward it. What looked like a sudden betrayal at gate 24 was really the final step in a pattern I'd spent most of my adult life pretending wasn't there. In my family, nobody ever announced the rules. They simply existed, as naturally as gravity. My younger sister, Lauren, was always the emergency everyone else had to reorganize themselves around. If she forgot a birthday, she was overwhelmed. If she missed a bill, she was under pressure. If she broke a promise, someone else was expected to smooth the edges before anyone noticed. I became very good at being that someone. The symbol of that role was strangely ordinary: luggage. Every family trip somehow involved me carrying an extra suitcase, checking an additional backpack, or arriving early because Lauren was running behind. The blue luggage tags became our unofficial family tradition. Mom bought identical ones every Christmas so nobody would lose their bags. Mine always seemed to end up attached to something Lauren had forgotten. Daniel used to laugh softly when he noticed it. "You know your bag isn't supposed to pull 3 others behind it," he'd say while lifting another suitcase into the trunk. He never sounded irritated, just observant. Lauren's twins, Mason and Mia, deserved far better than the chaos surrounding them. They were thoughtful children who thanked restaurant servers without being reminded and held hands crossing parking lots even when adults forgot to ask. Mason collected airport postcards from every city he visited. Mia kept a tiny sketchbook filled with drawings of clouds she saw through airplane windows. They weren't difficult children. They were remarkably adaptable because they'd learned early that plans around their mother changed without warning. Looking back, that realization hurts the most. Not because Lauren treated me like unpaid backup. Because I helped teach her she could. Whenever Mom said, "It's just easier if Hannah handles it," I nodded. Whenever Lauren apologized with flowers instead of changed behavior, I accepted them. Whenever someone joked that I was the reliable one, I smiled as though reliability and responsibility were the same thing. They aren't. Reliability should be appreciated. Responsibility should never become permission. By the first week of June, Lauren had invited everyone to meet at the airport before her Caribbean flight. I asked 3 separate times in our family group chat, over Sunday dinner, and again in a text on June 4th at 7:46 p.m., whether she needed anything besides a ride to the terminal. Each time she answered in writing, "Nope. Just come say goodbye. We've got everything covered." Even Daniel read the messages and smiled. "Looks like this one will actually be easy." Lauren laughed when she overheard him. "You should be taking care of family anyway." Everyone chuckled. I did too. At the time, it sounded like another harmless family joke. I had no idea she meant every word literally. Lauren hugged the twins first. She knelt in front of them, smoothed Mason's hoodie, tucked a loose curl behind Mia's ear, and kissed each of their foreheads with the practiced ease of a mother who knew exactly how to look loving in public. Then she hugged me just long enough for me to smell the coconut sunscreen she'd already put on before the flight. "I'll be right back," she said. "I forgot something at the check-in counter." She rolled her carry-on toward the security entrance. That was the last time I saw her for almost 4 months. At 8:17 a.m., my phone vibrated. The message was only 23 words. "Boarded already. Needed this trip alone. The twins are with you now. You should be taking care of family anyway. Have fun." For several seconds, I simply stared at the screen. The airport noise continued exactly as before. Boarding announcements echoed through Terminal B. A little boy laughed somewhere behind me. Someone dropped a metal water bottle that rolled across the polished floor. Nothing in the room reacted to the fact that my entire morning had just been rewritten. Daniel was still standing beside the 2 backpacks he'd packed with coloring books, headphones, crackers, and matching dinosaur water bottles. Those supplies had been meant to make a 4-hour flight easier. Instead, they became proof that the children had been prepared by someone who never intended to board with them. I looked toward the security checkpoint. Lauren was already gone. I called immediately. Straight to voicemail. Again. Voicemail. A third call ended before it even connected. Then I received another message. Don't make this dramatic. You should be taking care of family anyway. I remember feeling strangely calm. Not because I wasn't frightened. Because my mind hadn't caught up with what my eyes were reading. Mason quietly picked up his backpack. Mom left, he asked. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't even surprised. It sounded like someone confirming the weather. Before I could answer, Mia slipped her small hand into mine. Is she doing another grown-up trip? Daniel's expression changed before mine did. He crouched beside both children. Are you too hungry? They nodded together. No tears. No panic. Only the careful politeness children develop when disappointment has become familiar. Watching that hurt more than if they had screamed. As Daniel walked them toward a nearby cafe, memories arrived one after another with uncomfortable precision. Lauren forgetting Mason's kindergarten orientation because of a spa appointment. Me leaving work early to attend instead. Lauren asking me to keep the twins just one night that quietly became 4. Christmas morning when she disappeared for 3 hours because she needed space, while I assembled bicycles and pretended everything was perfectly normal. Birthday parties where she arrived after the cake had already been cut. School conferences. Doctor appointments. Dance rehearsals. Every incident had seemed isolated. Together, they formed a map. The most painful part wasn't realizing what Lauren had done. It was realizing how often I'd protected her from the consequences. I'd explained, covered, excused, rescheduled. I wasn't only the person being taken advantage of. I had become part of the machinery that allowed it to continue. Daniel returned carrying 4 paper cups of hot chocolate even though it was June. He handed one to me without speaking. Then he looked directly at me. This isn't someone asking for help. I looked back toward the security gates where passengers continued disappearing behind the scanners. No. My voice barely rose above a whisper. It isn't. He nodded once. This is abandonment. Hearing someone finally call it by its proper name changed something inside me. For the first time that morning, I stopped asking myself how to fix Lauren's problem. I started asking how to protect her children. I still wanted to believe there was a version of that morning that ended without lawyers, reports, or permanent fractures. So before I made a single formal decision, I called the 2 people who should have been the first to stand beside me. My mother answered on the second ring. After I explained exactly what had happened, there was a long pause before she sighed. Hannah, don't make this a thing. Lauren has been exhausted for months. She probably just needed a break. A break? I asked quietly. She left her children at an airport. They're with family, Mom replied, as if those 4 words erased everything else. Dad wasn't much different. He listened for less than a minute before saying, your sister trusts you. That's supposed to be a compliment. I remember staring through the cafe window at Mason helping Mia stir marshmallows into her hot chocolate. This doesn't feel like trust. It will only become a scandal if you make it one, he answered. Just keep the twins until she gets back. Neither of them asked whether I had work the next day. Neither asked how the children were coping. The conversation ended with me apologizing for interrupting their morning, a habit so deeply rooted that I heard myself doing it before I realized how absurd it was. Daniel watched me lower the phone. What did they say? The same thing they've always said. He didn't ask for details. He already knew. The unexpected call came 27 minutes later. My friend Angela, who worked in airport operations, had quietly reviewed the situation after Daniel explained why 2 children had suddenly become stranded without their listed guardian. She stepped into the cafe, still wearing her airport badge. Hannah, she said carefully, I need to ask one question. I nodded. Did Lauren tell you before today that she'd be leaving the children with you? No. Did you agree to become their caregiver while she traveled? No. Angela inhaled slowly. Then listened to me very carefully. She leaned closer. This isn't normal childcare. Her voice never rose. It isn't a misunderstanding. She placed one hand gently on the table. You have permission to stop protecting the adult who created this. Something inside me settled. Not because the situation became easier. Because someone had finally confirmed that my instincts weren't cruel. They were accurate. Even then, I tried one last act of good faith. At 10:06 a.m., I sent Lauren a calm message. The twins are safe. I can care for them tonight if there's been a genuine emergency. If something happened that you haven't told me, call me and we'll solve it together. But I need you to arrange the first available flight home tomorrow. We can work through the rest after that. I read it 3 times before pressing send. There were no accusations. No threats. Only a clear path back. Her reply arrived 12 minutes later. Absolutely not. Then another. I've already paid for the resort. You have a house, a flexible job, and no kids of your own. You should be taking care of family anyway. The third message landed before I could answer. If you embarrass me by calling anyone, Mom and Dad will know who destroyed this family. The twins will grow up believing you ruined their vacation, and don't expect anyone to forgive you for it. There it was. Not panic. Not guilt. Calculation. Her first concern wasn't whether Mason and Mia felt abandoned. It wasn't whether I could suddenly rearrange my life. It wasn't even whether she'd broken the law. Her greatest fear was losing the story she wanted everyone else to believe. I looked at the matching blue luggage tags resting beside the twins' backpacks. For years, I'd thought they represented carrying family together. That morning, I finally understood the truth. I'd been carrying someone who had never intended to share the weight. I stopped trying to earn a better place in a family system that only worked when I stayed quiet. Instead, I started building something steadier. That afternoon, with Angela's guidance and Daniel beside me, I contacted the appropriate child welfare authorities and an attorney. Every text message, every missed call, every timestamp from 8:17 a.m. onward was preserved. I wasn't trying to punish Lauren. I was creating a record that centered on 2 children who deserved consistency more than excuses. Before the reports were filed, I opened my phone and wrote the message I wanted to send. You abandoned your children. Don't ever contact me again. I deleted it. Then I wrote another. You've spent your whole life making everyone else clean up your mess. That disappeared too. Neither message would protect Mason or Mia. The one I finally sent was only 3 sentences. The twins are safe. I've documented today's events and contacted the appropriate people so they remain protected. When you're ready to discuss what's best for them, every decision will begin with their needs, not yours or mine. Her reply came less than a minute later. Do whatever you want. Nothing else. For someone who had always needed the last word, those 4 words sounded strangely empty. The weeks that followed were quieter than I expected. My guest room became a children's room. Daniel assembled 2 identical white bookshelves on a Saturday morning, and Mason carefully arranged his airport postcard collection while Mia taped her cloud drawings above the beds. Every Friday evening, we cooked homemade pizza together. Every Sunday afternoon, we visited the observation deck overlooking the runway, where the twins guessed destinations by watching aircraft lift into the sky. The blue luggage tags remained hanging by the front door. Not because anyone was leaving. Because they reminded us that home wasn't something you packed, it was something you returned to. News of Lauren reached us only through relatives. The Caribbean vacation she'd defended so fiercely had ended badly. Friends she'd traveled with left early after arguments over money. The carefully edited vacation photos stopped appearing after the 4th day. Her apartment lease expired while she was gone, forcing her to move in temporarily with another friend. Luxury had turned out to be far less dependable than responsibility. I never celebrated that. Winning isn't the right word when children spend months wondering why their mother didn't come home. One afternoon, Daniel said something that stayed with me. People don't become this entitled overnight. He wasn't defending Lauren. He was reminding me that someone had probably spent years teaching her that love meant rescue without accountability. That explanation added context. It didn't remove consequences. Nearly 4 months after the airport, Lauren knocked on my front door without calling. I saw her through the living room window. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to answer. I finished helping Mia tie her shoes. I poured Mason another glass of milk. Only then did I open the door. Lauren looked smaller than I remembered. She tried her familiar approach first. "You've made your point." I simply waited. When that failed, she sighed. "Mom says you've turned everyone against me." I still said nothing. Silence had become stronger than arguments. Finally, her shoulders lowered. She asked the only question that sounded completely unguarded. "Do they still want me?" I answered carefully. "This isn't about whether I forgive you." She looked down. "If you want a place in their lives again, you begin where they are. No promises you won't keep. No disappearing. No expecting them to comfort you for leaving. You earn their trust one visit at a time." She nodded. Then I took the twins into the backyard. What happened between Lauren, Mason, and Mia belonged to them. Their first real conversation lasted nearly an hour beneath the old maple tree. I never repeated a single word. Some moments deserve witnesses. Others deserve privacy. A year later, Friday pizza nights and Sunday airport visits had become permanent traditions. Lauren joined us when she followed through, and nobody rearranged the schedule if she didn't. She was no longer treated as the family's exception, but neither was she kept outside the circle. One afternoon, she quietly clipped one of the blue luggage tags back onto Mason's backpack before our airport visit. She didn't announce it or ask anyone to notice. She simply smiled when he thanked her. I still think about 8:17 a.m., about 2 6-year-olds, for months of rebuilding, and one small blue luggage tag that meant something completely different by the end. Because family isn't measured by who expects you to carry their baggage. It's measured by who finally learns to carry their own before asking to walk beside you.